What's up, gang? Welcome to the Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius Mershazde. I'm so pumped to have you here with me. Now, listen, the Greatness Machine, we're about two things. Number one, people who are living their passions. And number two, those who are creating greatness in the world and doing both of these things despite the odds against them. Each episode, we're going to feature interviews with game changers, business leaders, telling us their origin stories, what made them tick, what got them to where they are now. Why? So it can help you step into your greatness within your life, your business, and your career. Occasionally, you might hear a few solo episodes from myself, moi as I say, as I leverage my 20 years of entrepreneurship as a CEO and founder to help you grow and level up in your journey to scale your life and your business. So, come be a fly on the wall, enjoy the conversation, and I'm stoked to have you here with me. Welcome to today's episode of The Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius Mershazde, and we have a very special episode of The Greatness Machine, hosting it at the main man, Brad Lea's house in Las Vegas. Brad Lea.
It ain't my house, but just so everybody knows.
No, this is definitely
30,000 square foot facility.
Yeah.
We're in a studio.
True that.
But yeah, this is my cribbo. This is my house in that respect.
The workhouse.
That's right.
So we are hosting it at Brad Lea's office here and studio here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Huge props for an amazing setup here, by the way.
Thanks, man.
So, Brad, you may not know this about the show, but the Greatness Machine, we're about two things: people who are living their passions and those that are creating greatness in the world. And I always like to kind of start the show off by talking about how the show came to be. And so we have a mutual friend, Jay Duran, and Jay's wife and I were talking, and it turns out that you guys know them, and I know them. And I said, "Man, you think Brad will do my show?" And she said, "Well, I can ask." And next thing I know, I'm in Vegas like 3 weeks later, meeting you and doing the show, man. So this is a pretty big honor for me, and I'm really pumped to get to spend this time with you.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, this is really cool. And I'll tell you what, like I've done a lot of podcasts, and I've listened to a lot of podcasts, and you're just such a pro, and your show is really nails. I mean, how long have you been doing podcasting for?
I would say 3 years, maybe 4.
And so I want to start off by saying that, I want to get a little bit of your formal background, and then we can, I got tons of questions for you. But for those of you guys that are not familiar with Brad's a serial entrepreneur, father of 7, author of The Hard Way. We're going to be talking about the book, CEO of LightSpeed VT. Can't wait to talk about the business as well. And host of one of the top podcasts in the world, Dropping Bombs, here in Vegas. And man, are you dropping bombs all over the world? I mean, what an insane show. So you said that you started doing the show about 4 or 5 years ago. Like what drew you to want to start doing podcasting?
3 or 4 years ago. I think December of 2018, right there. Someone put it on that when I hit top 10. So December of 18, what does that make? 4 years?
Wow.
Almost 4 years? No, almost 5 years. You're correct.
And was the intention when you started where you're like, yeah, man, I'm going to start this badass podcast? Or you just like, what was the intention around that?
Well, my mission is to get the knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it, because I think people fail because of lack of information. So this technology, the software, all my, companies focus on getting people information. So I just said one day, because I get a lot of subject matter experts in here being on LightSpeed. And so Tony Robbins, a lot of people, big names.
Oh, huge.
And I'm like, dude, I'm just letting them come in here and film. They're sitting around. Why don't I just get a couple microphones and say, hey, let me pick your brain real quick.
Right.
And so I did. And boom, next thing you know, podcasts became cool. And I happened to have one.
Yeah, you did.
So I became, cool. And so people started listening to it. Then you get all the haters in the world that are like, let the guy finish. Jeez, this guy is interrupting his guests, which I do because I'm not doing a podcast. I'm having a conversation.
Right.
And you just happen to be listening to it. See the difference? Like
Totally.
People interrupt each other in real life.
Of course. Yeah.
So it's like they want me just to ask a question and then let the man finish. Well, guess what? What if you say something that sparks a question? Am I supposed to just sit there and be quiet? Because if I do, by the time you finish what you're saying, I have 7 more questions I thought of.
Yeah.
So now I just missed that one.
Yeah.
People want me to interrupt. They just don't know it.
Well, to your point, this is how we talk in real life. I always tell people, greatness machines, like you're a fly on the wall of a cool conversation. you know, and you can choose to opt in or opt out of it. And it's funny, like I always wanted to do podcasts. I started this show about a year and a half ago, but I was talking to like a few people I'm on their shows, and they're like, what can you send us the questions before? I'm like, oh, I don't have fucking questions for you. Like, I'm going to do my prep work, and we're going to have a conversation, to your point. So let me ask you a question. I want to digress for a second. I want to come back to the show in a little bit, but, no,
I was just saying, the only thing I don't do is prepare.
Oh, I'll be honest with you, man. Normally I don't, but I did for you because I was like, I wanted to, you know,
well, what's funny is
more of an A game.
What's funny is normally I don't, but I should.
Or not, man. You got a great show.
No, dude. Preparation is always better. Always. Not again. I'm sure I can think of some funny way of figuring out sometime where it isn't. But, dude, I would rather be prepared than unprepared.
Fair enough. I mean, you know, and any top coach that's coaching, you know, if you're the Tim Grover, that's all that his books are all about is preparing, right? Is getting ready for the win.
That's how greatness is achieved.
Right.
Preparedness, being prepared, preparation.
So I'm reading right now. I'm reading Winning by Tim Grover, and when you start reading what the guys like Kobe and Jordan and Kevin Durant, these guys are doing, to your point, it's like. It almost, you're like, what am I not doing to level up and prepare? So when you start thinking about preparation, even though you're saying that maybe you don't do it for this podcast, how do you take that idea of preparedness and to be more prepared to level up in your life?
Well, number one, I think the first thing people need to do to prepare is to gain knowledge and ultimately position themselves as an expert. So for me, it's an ongoing, everyday chase. Read books, learn something new, seek information voraciously.
So I guess a quick question on that. What's like the top two? What are you reading right now?
Right now, I do things over a lot. So I'm back on the 4 Agreements.
Oh, really?
But it's like my 9th time.
I just finished that book.
Dude, the 4 Agreements, everyone should read it 100 times.
I listened to it. Peter Coyote does the audio on it.
Yeah, and then I just started. I'd have to look. I just started a new one, and when I'm walking on the treadmill, I open up the old, what do you call it? I got both iBooks and Audible.
Yeah.
But no, not that one. I went through the other one. So 2 different accounts. I go with let's see here, bang. It's called. No, not Limitless. Where am I at? Here we go. It's called. Why can't I see it?
It's all good. Take your time.
I know, but I like giving people.
I love
the
it.
Master Key System.
Master Key System.
Yeah, have you heard of it?
No.
The Master Key System.
How is it?
It's good. It's more of, mindset stuff.
Yeah, I just I'm reading about 5 books at a time, and I bounce from them.
See, I can't do that.
But I listen to a lot of them, and if I get bored, I'll move on to the next one. So for you, it's learning, that evolutional learning. I want to take it back though, and normally I always like to start the show off with origin stories. But since we're in your studio and this is such an epic spot, I wanted to hear a little bit of the origin story of the show. But I want to take a step back because no one creates a situation like this unless they've started from somewhere that got them here. So I really want to take a step back and go, tell us from the beginning. I mean, you're now a CEO, you're an influencer, you're an author, you're doing all these amazing things. You're a podcaster, without question, is one of the big things that's on the list right now. But going all the way back to, take us back, like how did you get into this world of entrepreneurism? Take us back to the beginning.
Well, I mean, I've always, I think, been an entrepreneur by definition, which is, the person willing to take big financial risks.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been that way, but when I was about 30 years old, I was running a car dealership. I helped this kid in the back who was a minimum wage worker with a nice family come out to sales and, changed his life, showed him how to make 15 grand a month, and kind of made an impact on me that made me want to help other people to do that for them. So for the first time, about 30 years old, I decided, man, I want to help other people learn this because I watched what it did for him. And so I quit my job And prior to that, by the way, I was only out for myself. Like I was working for me and, you know, always trying to get it for me. So when I watched what I did for that guy, I said, man, that's cool. I want to do that for more people. And so I just kind of totally forgot myself and started trying to help people. And that's really when success started. So whenever you hear, you know, like Zig Ziglar says, you know, best way to help yourself is to help others.
Right.
Best way to get what you want is to help others get what they want. You know, it never really made sense to me, but now looking back, it's like, whoa, that's what happened. I started helping other people and now I started to succeed, but it wasn't overnight. It took about 8 years. I started a virtual training company because I went out to train people. And when I went out on the road, I realized it wasn't effective and I wasn't able to get the result I used to.
Okay.
So I realized there were 4 key ingredients that were missing, and I had to invent a way to deliver those. And so I invented LightSpeed for myself. And then it started working really well with my training. And so I started approaching all the other subject matter experts because I knew they were having the same trouble I was.
These were other trainers?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Tom Hopkins, John Maxwell, you know, Damon John, you know, then companies started getting it, UFC, General Motors, like PGA, like a lot of different companies, because our training technology here is like world-class, like it's an actual training system. It's not just a hosting solution. So that got me around all these subject matter experts and these gurus and these entrepreneurs and all these great minds and authors and speakers. And that's what kind of got me into it.
And so tell us about LightSpeed. So LightSpeed, obviously that was the origin story of how it came to be. Is it an LMS? You know, for a lot of our listeners are CEOs, entrepreneurs, they're building companies. You know, who's the ideal audience to take advantage of a LightSpeed technology and your platform?
Well, I mean, LightSpeed is built for 2 types of people. A person that wants to, or organization that wants to train people better. Like if you're a company and you're struggling training your people, it's probably because you're not training your people, you're exposing your people, and exposing isn't training. So I would help businesses create world-class training systems to improve their organization. And then I would help people like yourself, subject matter experts that want to monetize their content by creating a training system that they sell to those businesses and individuals wanting to skill up.
Interesting.
And because it's my mission to get the knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it, it fits. Because like I think you need to be on LightSpeed so millions of people that are already on LightSpeed, besides the rest, can learn how to do the core values and how to do the things you do, scale their companies. There's so many entrepreneurs failing and will continue to fail because they don't know what you know. So how easy would it be to capture what you know in these studios that you're seeing in here?
Yeah.
And then deliver it through full motion interactive video embedded with questions to where the content adapts to the individual, not the individual adapts to the content.
Interesting.
No one else can do that in the world.
So it's both content creators and then organizations who are trying to level up their people.
Yeah, because I have subject matter experts if they don't have it. Because to get the 4 ingredients, you have to have good content, right? Sometimes a company has the content within, you know, their own brain power, their brain trusts. Right. They have a person that knows what they're doing inside the company, but they're so busy doing it, nobody slows down and duplicates and maps that out.
Right.
So you either buy it from a guy like you or develop it from within, but either way, you need good content. Agree?
Agreed.
If you don't know how to do it, that's the number one thing. Figure out how to do it. So once you know how to do it, now you have good content. Then you need repetition, which most companies miss. Then you need practice, which most companies miss.
Right.
Or they let you practice on customers, which isn't very smart.
No.
And then the 4th thing that you need is accountability. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. And it's really funny you're saying this because I think a lot of people, it's like a trial by fire. That I joke, I say, oh, CEOs and entrepreneurs throw their team into the deep end, and some of them float to the top and some of them make it. But when we look at organizations, and I'm going to use an example like Navy SEALs.
Well, see, I like to try to throw the deep end into my team.
Oh, how does that? What do you mean by that?
Well, it's the opposite of what you said.
Yeah. So explain that to me.
Well, explain throwing them into the deep end.
So deep end would be like, all right, I'll give you.
Yeah, like good luck.
Yeah, here's a phone. Like here's a great. Here's a phone. Go make calls.
So I'd like to throw the deep end into my team.
Oh, into them.
Yeah.
So that they know.
So they have all the
and
luck.
digest
They got
it.
all the information.
Yeah. So when you think of organizations like, again, I'm using an example of like high level military, Navy SEALs, these high level recon. I have a few friends that are these, they're in military in those areas. And I talked to them specifically and I said, what do you spend most of your time doing? And they're like, we spend like 99% of our time training. Right. And
actual training, good content, repetition, practice, and accountability. I guarantee you those exist in the military.
Right. And yet we look at organizations and they don't do it because so what do you think? Why do you think that most CEOs, most entrepreneurs, most organizations, why won't they do those 4 things that you just talked about?
Well, a lot of them don't know to do it.
Interesting. So how do you guys, so a CEO comes to you and says, hey, LightSpeed, like how can we work with you to make that happen? Because because I'll tell you one of my experience with learning and development, I built a full-blown learning and development department in my company. 10 people, instructional designers, full LMS, build out. I mean, dude, I spent millions on this in my former business. And at
Should've got LightSpeed.
I know, I totally effed up, right? So at the end, I dismantled the thing. I just had a couple instructional designers. We had our LMS, and we kind of picked the low hanging fruit because I felt like it was too much, and I got overwhelmed. And I had 1,000 employees at this point, so it was just a lot. I didn't know where to start. So someone comes to a LightSpeed and says, "Hey, I got this big problem. I got 1,000 employees. I got 500 employees. I got 100 employees.
Yeah.
How do you guys solve that problem?"
Well, first of all, we simplify because so many people want to complicate things, especially when they get big. So you might have 1,000 employees, but you don't have 1,000 roles.
Right.
So let's figure out what roles you have at your organization. So we have a sheet, we write down all the different roles in the organization. Then across the top, what kind of training do you have for those roles? And people start to realize, well, shit, we don't have any training. Well, there's the problem.
Right.
So now it's like, what kind of training do these people, well, what are the goals? And now all of a sudden they start to fill in this, what I call training deficiency grid. And they start to realize, holy crap, I need a lot of training. No kidding.
Yeah.
And then they go, okay, well, how do we get it? What do we do? You can build it, create it like you were doing.
Right.
Or you can buy it. Someone says, I don't know core values. Dude, I got someone on LightSpeed with core values. Let me hook you up with Darius. Hey, I got this person. I got that person. So we'll get you the content, or you can, that's buying it.
Right.
Or you can create it because you do know what you're doing, but you're doing it manually and you're doing it ineffectively with no repetition, no accountability, no practice. So you take what you would have normally tried to do manually and you just virtualize it to where now I've got a Darius 24/7, speaks 8 to 18 different languages. He doesn't forget. And when I say 18, might as well say 92 because I can make you speak any language once
really?
you're created.
So the system actually can change and convert anything?
Well, yeah, but that's common practice nowadays.
Okay, sorry.
It's just translation.
Okay.
So I mean, at the end of the day, I can virtualize what you would have said in real life.
Wow.
And then get someone up to speed before the real you ever has to say a word. And by the time you do have to say a word, you're not talking about basic ass onboarding information where they're asking you, where's the bathroom? Like,
right.
I've already told you where the bathroom is virtually. I already told you what our core values are virtually. I've tested you. So now I know your core values. So now when I see you, I don't have to wonder, do you know our core values? I know you're new, but do you know them?
Right.
I don't have to ask that anymore.
Right.
I know for a fact that you know them and understand them and agree to them and everything else. Why? Because when you started, I gave you a password and told you go through this module, which is me being nice and sweet and patient and delivering it the best possible way so everybody can go through that a bunch of times until I know they know. And now I'll say, any questions?
I love it.
And guess what? The questions are way fewer and they're way more intelligent.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. And so, I have a question about the LightSpeed business. So and what does VT stand for, by the way? Virtual training?
Yep.
So I had heard, I don't recall where it was. It was you being interviewed. You had said that your goal is to turn this into $1 billion company. You mind walking us through that? Because that's greatness right there.
Well, I've realized that, our education system's a little bit messed up too.
Right.
So, I think the potential of being a multi-billion-dollar company is there. So a billion-dollar company is almost a given. I think a fool could do that.
Okay.
The only question is, how long is it going to take me?
All right.
But, to me, the education system could be completely revamped. I mean, in my opinion, dude, the more people you help, the more money you'll make.
Yeah.
So I want to help, 8 billion people.
So when we look at big numbers, your goal is, I want to help the whole world learn better. That's the mission.
Yeah, I want to get the knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. Like the greatest invention to date in my mind over anything is Google.
Yeah.
Like people can say, oh, look at this microwave. Look at that camera. What about an airplane? Isn't that a magnificent invention? Sure is. But I appreciate Google.
Full democratization of information.
Information, dude. Information is all you need. Now people say you need execution. Well, no shit. That's part of the information. Like that's given. Okay. You got to execute. But my whole thing is, where's the knowledge? I want to get it from the people who have it to the people who need it, so we can live in a world more successful. Make sense?
Yeah. And it's funny. I was reading this. It was like someone was interviewing Elon Musk's first wife, and they said, what's it take to be a billionaire? And the answer to your point just now is, you have to solve a hard problem, and you have to help a lot of people. And a lot of people, I think, start fixating on the number. I want to be a billionaire, right? I need 3 commas. And they're not focused on what you're talking about, which is, well, get your head out. The number is just a representation of how much value you're creating in the world.
Yeah.
So I love what you're saying right now, is that I want to create so much value that I help the entire world's population get the information from the people that have it. That's a huge goal, man. I really appreciate that.
Starting with the educational system.
Yeah. Which is totally effed up, right?
Terrible.
Yeah. So how do you see that? Like, obviously you're doing it with the democratization of information of people that and that you're meeting that are bringing that information to the people. Do you see an opportunity where LightSpeed would actually go into the education system?
Well, we already are. Number one, we educate people every day, all day. That's what a training system should be doing, by the way.
For sure.
But when you're talking about the educational system, like public schools, colleges, things of that nature, we already are in some.
Okay.
But I think, like when we started in 1999, before there was anybody doing anything online,
right?
We started it, which kind of makes us the pioneers. I think it took a while for that to catch up, and I think COVID helped, but it's taken a while for academics to catch up. Like academics, dude, a lot of them are just in my mind, blockheads.
Yeah.
Like they think just because they're academics, they know better. When in reality, I don't think that's the case. Like, for example, you go to a school, a normal public school, the shit starts at 7:00 in the morning at the latest, usually. Some earlier, I've seen. Why? Why would you start that early?
It's insane, man.
But why would you start that early? It's not for the kids.
No, it's for daycare.
But it's not for the kids. Okay, so again, who's the customer of a school?
Right, parents.
But who should be the customer?
The children,
the kids, the student. So you can't chew gum, you got to sit in uncomfortable chairs, you got to sit in a row. Then COVID came out, and then it got even more stupid.
Yep.
At the end of the day, folks, with the danger nowadays, dude, I'd rather my kid don't even go to a brick and mortar school. I'd rather have first grade on demand, second grade on demand, third grade on demand. Give my kid a password to a computer. Interactive teacher pops up, pre-recorded, totally compliant. We know exactly what they're saying. There's no chance of any nonsense. Now, when the information's been delivered, now we send the kid to school with questions for the actual teacher.
Yeah.
Right now, we send the kid to the teacher, and they come home with questions and homework.
Yeah, mom and dad are teaching them.
Yeah, and how does that make any sense? Like send the teacher virtually home, and then send the kid to school with questions.
Yeah.
Don't you think that'd work better?
Yeah, no, I love that.
And then hard desks. Like, what if a kid learns better chewing gum? Why is there no gum chewing?
Yeah.
So the janitor doesn't clean up the gum. So again, they're choosing themselves. That's their purpose, is themselves. They start early. You can't have gum. Everything's uniform. So fights, they don't have to deal with fights. They don't have to deal with the liability. Now they have metal detectors. Now kids are getting shot. Whack jobs are going into schools, shooting up schools. Like, why?
Yeah, that does. It's not serving
just to
the purpose.
Transfer information.
That doesn't make sense.
Who decides these things? Like, are you telling me that my kid's got to risk his life or her life to get an education? No, dude. I'll give her a password to her iPhone, and knowledge can pop up and transfer as long as they're being good content, repetition, practice, and accountability. And now my kid knows what they're supposed to know without being in all that nonsense, and how much information we picked up because it's interactive throughout their education. We can see their interests and adapt the content to their interests so they exceed and stay more interested. I mean, there's just so many things you can do to fix the education space. It's hard to talk about it on a podcast, but
sure.
And the way I work is like, I just start thinking, and next thing you know, like, I have to have people telling me, no, that's not possible. In fact, when I started LightSpeed, I described, even to this day, more than it is.
Wow. And do you think that's just you being a visionary as an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
Because I do think that there's a huge element of, in order for you to create, you have to be called crazy.
Yeah.
Right. So you obviously have done that. Do you mind if we pivot into your book a little bit?
Sure.
So you wrote the book the hard way, and it was funny when I was looking at it and reading some of it, and I was like, man, you and I share this thing where we got to learn shit the hard way. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, the book is about all the things, or some of the things, that I've learned the hard way, so you don't have to. Again, it goes back to getting the knowledge from me to you.
Right.
And there's things that I know that if someone knew, it will help them. And the funny part is you're going to learn them one way or the other.
Right.
The question is, how much is it going to cost you in terms of time, money, and aggravation? Well, you can read my book and save a lot of time, money, and aggravation, because you're going to learn it one way or the other. You know, how to be authentic, just all the things I've learned the hard way. Because I didn't listen, and I didn't have coaches and mentors and any of that. Like, I didn't even have parenting. My parents made sure I didn't die. That was about it. You know, they made sure I was fed and clothed.
Yeah.
As far as structure and teaching me and putting their arm around me and teaching me lessons, no, never.
So when you start to think of the things you learn the hard way, what are your top like 2 or 3 where you're like, these ones are, if I was to say the top 3 things in that book that when I give advice, that's the advice I give based off my learnings. What are those?
Number 1, you got to love yourself. Period. Most people, they do not like themselves. They're not even aware of it in most cases, but everyone is so worried about everyone else's opinion because they need everyone else to validate themselves, when in reality, you need to validate yourself. You need to like yourself.
How do you do that? Because I think some people, it's easy. Well, so reading the book. Okay.
No, I teach you exactly how to do it. But you got to like yourself. You got to love yourself. You got to walk around and feel worthy. You know, you have to have confidence in this world. But to me, I don't know which one's biggest, because they're all important. You know, being yourself, to me, is liberating. Most people will not be themselves.
Yeah, they're afraid.
Well, again, they're afraid of other people's opinion. What are they going to think of me?
Right.
Let me try to fit in. Let me try to do this. When in reality, when I was young, it was about 6 years old, I used to lie about everything.
Why? Why do you think
Because
you did
I
that?
felt ashamed of not being rich. And I felt ashamed of not being even upper middle class, where, believe it or not, we lived. Here's the crazy part. We lived on a hill in a little tiny shitty house next to nice houses.
Huh. And
my dad eventually built it into a nice house also, but for a while it was the little shack on the street. And I always felt that we were looked at as the poor people.
So was your family blue collar then?
Yeah.
And and
then this guy owned a grocery store chain. This guy owned a dentist or a eye doctor. I forget what these people down the street, but there was one other kind of shitty house down on the bottom too. But most people around there were very successful people. Now remember, when I lived there, I was young, but at the end of the day, everyone was rich except us.
Yeah.
And by the way, they probably weren't rich. I just thought they were.
Sure. But perception's everything, right?
Yeah.
And so sorry. So let's go back. So number 1 was love yourself. Number 2 is be authentic. What would you say the third thing is?
Let's see. I think, like, there's a bunch. I mean, you gotta ultimately sell something. Like
Interesting.
Learn sales.
Now, so do you think some people are and obviously you have and we talked about your sales background, which is insane, but you have a gift for sales. You've taught sales. You are a person that probably consider yourself a great salesperson.
100%. Best in the world.
Right. So you have that mindset, but I know a lot of people that I mean, they really, I've trained in my businesses hundreds of salespeople, and some got it and some it's kind of painful. Like, what do you think about that? Is it that they're selling the wrong thing, or is it that they're not doing the work?
Well, they had poor training.
That's my fault.
Well, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But if you're saying that you're either a good salesman or you're not, that's not true.
Okay.
I've taken introverts and made them great. I've taken all kinds of people and turned them into really good salespeople. And ironically, to be a good salesperson, you stop selling, start trying to help people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't make salespeople, I make help people, and they just happen to be the best salespeople. But most people are selling their whole life, they just don't know it. So the difference between a good salesperson and a bad salesperson is the bad salesperson doesn't know they're doing it. So just like if you went dancing, for example, and you saw somebody going by doing the waltz, and then you saw somebody going by having a, spaz attack, what would you do? You'd be like, well, that's a dance and that's not, because it's pretty obvious.
Right.
Well, when it comes to sales, what is sales?
Right. It's art of persuasion, right?
That's all it is. Like, we've been selling people from day one on getting ice cream, not going to school. We sell them to go on dates with us. We sell them to go to the movie we want to go to. Sales is sales. So if you realize that there's an actual skill to it, well, you can develop skill. You can't develop sales. Sorry.
Right.
You don't have something. I don't know what it is. Sorry. Pick something else. Darius, you got to do like labor or something.
Oh, I got to go dig ditches now? Shit.
So to me, it's like, I could go through my book. I think there's 17, maybe 16. No, 15. Then there's one that I end with, procrastination. Like, dude, procrastination will kill you. I've got, don't take, money over relationships.
Right.
Most people will choose money over relationships, and they don't understand that relationships are where money comes from.
Yeah.
So if you focus on the money and not the relationship dies. And when the relationship dies, the money dries up. So by focusing on the money, you're making a huge mistake.
Right.
Focus on the relationship, make the relationship thrive, and the money will either stay the same, remain, or get better, but it's not going away. But that relationship goes away, brother. Let me tell you something. So is the money.
Yeah.
And then some people are like, so what are you saying? You're supposed to use people? Yeah, that's another thing. Use people. That's what an intelligent society does. We leverage each other to make ourselves stronger. Yes or no?
For sure.
But yet people will call it using people. You're not supposed to use people. Yes, you are supposed to use people. Matter of fact, you leverage everybody you can, and you do it very, very well. And that the more easy and successful you'll become.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Like, you're touching on a couple things there. One thing you reminded me of is I have this philosophy in life. I call it the give, take. I give twice before I ever ask. Right. And it's this idea, to your point, of how do you honor the relationship, right? Which I think is huge advice, right? Like, most people, it's about what can you do for me instead of what can I do for you? What can I do to help you? So I love that advice, man.
And that's what I teach people. Like, quit worrying about making a commission. Quit worrying about getting your rent paid. Well, it's easy for you to say you're rich. Dude, I wasn't always.
Yeah.
Okay. I was broke just like everybody else. I'm telling you, I parked my car 4 blocks away so it wouldn't get repoed many times.
Yeah.
Like, those aren't just stories. Those are the truth. I was down on child support, like everything in the book that will stop somebody from winning happened to me, and I still win, and I still won. Why? One guaranteed thing: mindset. I believe there's 3 things that you need to worry about, and that is it. If you worry about these 3 things, your life will be amazing. Number 1, mindset. Number 2, skill set. Number 3, habits.
Okay.
Get your mindset right, get your skill set right, and get your habits right, dude. You go anywhere you want to go. You become the greatness machine.
Yeah, baby. So what let me ask you a question, because when we start talking about mindset, right? Because a lot of the gurus out there would talk about, you need to have a positive mindset. You need to believe in yourself. You need to, they'll go down.
But they don't tell you how to do it.
Right.
They just tell you that you need to do it.
Right. So one of the things you talk about in your book that by the way, I just read one of your friend, Ed Milet's new book.
Yeah. One More.
Yeah. The Power of One More, which is a great book. And you and him are talking about one of the same thing, which is that we need to unlearn things that have happened to us in our life. And part of that is this mindset of unlearning.
He might have got that from me. Who knows?
No. Yeah.
I'm older than Ed.
Yeah.
I'm his senior.
Yeah. He might have stolen it from you.
He may have. If he says that, he did.
Well, yeah. It was fun. Well, I wrote it down because I saw it in your book when I was reading your book, and it resonated with me because I had just read his book. And so, when we start talking about unlearning, can you talk about that a little bit? What do you mean by that?
Well, just things that we've learned growing up. I believe when we're born, we're domesticated, and you have to unlearn some of those things. So everybody's out trying to learn, how to get rich and how to be successful and all this, when they need to unlearn, the old crap we've been told, like money doesn't grow on trees, like scarcity mindset type things. That's what we learned. Eat your food. Don't talk to strangers. What are you talking about, dude? Strangers have your money. Like, why would you not talk to them? Fly under the radar. Fly under the radar. Get on the radar.
Yeah.
Keep your mouth shut. Lay low. Don't lay low. Don't draw attention. Draw attention. It's everything we've learned needs to be unlearned. Like, get rid of that nonsense. You want attention. You want social media following. You want to love yourself. You don't want to hate yourself. I always love it when people are like, dude, you love yourself, don't you? And they say it like it's negative.
Yeah.
And I go, should I hate myself? They're like, well, no. Well, then what's the problem with loving myself? People say, you love yourself? Like it's a negative thing. Well, it sounds stupid and lame and egotistical. Why? Why does it sound that way? Because that's what we've been taught.
Yeah.
Well, guess what, dude? I like myself. Do you know why? Because I get up every day looking to help people. I'm nice. I'm kind. I'm all the things they tell you to be. So why can't I like me? And I can. And I don't need you to like me for me to like me. And that's what makes me so-called confident. And that's why people are like, dude, I wish I had your confidence. Well, then start freaking worrying about what you think more than you worry about what everybody else thinks.
Let me ask you a question, because in your book you talked about this, and you just kind of touched on it right now, which is that we're told basically we're told what we can't do, right? Negativity. And I grew up in an environment, immigrant family, I grew up with there was a lot of negativity around.
Believe it or not, though, being an immigrant is and was an advantage.
Why do you say that?
Because you'll work harder, because you're appreciative, because your gratitude is there. People that are born here, entitled freaking people acting like everything's just going to get dropped in their lap.
Yeah.
No. Immigrants, they come over here, they know they're blessed. They know this is a freaking unbelievable opportunity, and they work harder. That's why the freaking immigrants that come here end up freaking owning everything anyway.
Yeah, it's the immigrant work ethic, to your point. And the country is built on immigrants, right?
And then what do the people here do? Yeah, they bitch about the immigrants taking all the opportunity. Right. Well, like freaking then get on it, bitch. You were born here.
Yeah, you do have that opportunity. And so, but what I found, and this is something that I've had to unlearn, and we talked a little bit about this earlier, but I had to unlearn that just because someone else has a negative perspective, I can't let that affect me. Right. This was something that I've spent a lot of time.
You had to unlearn that?
Well, I had to learn it. Excuse me. I had to, my unlearning was I believed people in the past. I was like, well, maybe they're right, and I had to unlearn that. Hey, they're wrong. Like that's not just because someone says you can't do it, or just because someone in their experience it wasn't positive doesn't mean it has any effect on me.
Well, perspective's everything, bro.
Yeah.
Like you can put someone in two exact situations, and one can be upset and one can be happy.
Right.
Like I met a man with no shoes, right? And then I met a man with no feet.
Wow.
What about, two kids? One's from a well-to-do family, one's from a poor family. They put them both in a room filled with horse manure. They walk in, one's pissed, one's happy. The pissed one says, you stuck me in a room. What do you expect? The happy one says, there's got to be a pony in here. Now, it's the exact same situation, but they're both in a different mindset. Why? Right. It's perspective.
Yeah.
So how I taught myself to have the best, I think, chance at success is to shift my perspective to gratitude. So when you wake up in the morning, you get extremely, extremely grateful for having another day. And the way I show people how to do that, I call it the $1 million morning, because if I just gave you $1 million,
right,
would you be excited? Yes or no?
Yes.
Would you be fired up?
Fired up.
Once you realized it was the truth, it's actual real, there's no joke, and it's yours.
I would be super fired up.
Right. Nothing could get in your way, at least for the day. Maybe the week.
It would be a really good day and probably week.
Right. Nobody can come along and crap on your parade and make you negative and get you depressed and get you all butthurt and get you in some dark corner or dark space or, any of that. Well, if I said I'll give you $1 million, but you can't wake up in the morning, what would you do? Would you take it?
Hell no.
Hell no. So you value waking up more than you do $1 million.
Without question.
Well, then how come when you wake up, you don't have that same gratitude?
How
come the second you open your eyes, you don't have that $1 million feeling? And when you do, and you start to train your brain to do that, and you start to realize that, you wake up, you open your eyes, you'll catch yourself smiling. And I do this every single morning. When I open my eyes, I just start smiling. And again, people say, well, that's weird. It's not weird, and it's quick. It's not like I'm sitting in my bed with a big grin on my face. I open my eyes and I crack a smile because, dude, I get another one. I get another one.
Yeah.
And so I bolt out of bed and I realize, dude, I get another one of these deals. This is awesome. So I don't need, pink, glitter coming out of a unicorn's butt for it to be a good day.
Sure.
All I need is to wake up for it to be a good day. Yeah. Who's got the advantage?
Dude, without question. You do.
Thank you.
So
and by the way, that's my advantage in life. People are like, well, dude, I don't understand. Quit being pessimistic. Quit being cynical. Quit being like down and out about things. You're alive. And I don't care, I'm missing an arm. I don't care. You still got the other one.
Yeah.
You're like, I would be pissed that I had no shoes until I saw a dude with no feet. Now I'm like, dude, I'm thankful I got feet.
Yeah.
It's a perspective.
So I mean, I got to imagine you have days when it's not going well. What do you do to stop yourself in your tracks?
Every day goes well, bro.
All right.
The question is how well does it go?
Okay. So you're always starting at well.
Today's an awesome day. Are you kidding me? I can't wait to see how much better it gets. That's freaking awesome.
Man, dude, you're rocking my world right now, and I love this talk so much.
That's because, dude, sometimes once in a while you actually do come across a great one.
It's true. the greatness machine has finally
found my home.
And finally.
Yep, I should be a co-host from now on.
Dude, anytime.
Hey, if you guys want me to co-host the show, make sure you bombard Darius with requests.
Oh, yeah. And
you're going to get some that are going to be like, please, I'll stop listening.
Yeah, you know what? Fuck those people.
I know. That's another thing. Like, I don't know if I put this in my book or not, but don't worry about the haters. Okay. Don't worry about the haters. Worry about the lovers. What's that mean? If you figure out who you are and what you want, right? And you put it out on the internet and someone doesn't like it, do you? And if you do, well, then don't worry about that person.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but what if they say this? And what if they're, causing harm to my reputation and all that crap? Listen, If you're too worried about the hate, you'll never find the love.
Right.
So what you need to do is you need to get it out on the internet, because that's where the public is nowadays. And the public and the love is there. No matter who you are. I don't give a shit how good looking you are or ugly you are. I don't care how fat you are or skinny you are. There is somebody out there that will love you for you. You just don't know them because you won't say anything and you won't put yourself out there. So now there's no way anyone can love you. And when you really look at that, why are you not putting yourself out there? Because I might get made fun of. Someone might think I'm fat. Someone might think I'm dumb. Someone might think I'm ugly. Okay, so you're not going out there because you are worried about the hate, which means you'll never find the love. Does that make sense?
Totally.
So just get your shit out there.
So let me ask a question on that, because I think that, and I know we're running short on time.
Do people cuss on this show?
What's that?
Do people ever cuss on this show?
I mean, I encourage them to cuss if they want to.
You encourage it?
I mean, I don't care. So it's like,
but do they?
Sometimes. I mean, I think I do probably more than they do.
I know, but again, there's people that are on a show, and you know what they're going to do? They're not going to cuss. Why? Well, because you know, I don't want to look like yada yada yada. And then there's always these people that come across and they try to use fancy words to explain something that they could have said simply, because they want you to think they're smarter than they actually are.
Yeah.
And maybe they are smart, but then they want you to know it. So they're going to use big words. They're not concerned about you getting the information. They're concerned about how they look delivering the information. And it's stupid.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm all about.
Sometimes I stutter.
Yeah.
Sometimes I interrupt. Sometimes I don't use the best word I could have. Sometimes I say shit when I shouldn't. So what?
I think you're crushing it, man. Honestly.
Well, thank you.
That's my feedback.
So do 1.2 million on TikTok and 6 something on Instagram.
Yeah, man, you're the real deal. And so let me ask you a question, because you're touching on something that I was hoping we'd have time for, and we got a couple more minutes left, and I know you're busy, so I want to get you out of here on time. I always say I come from the analog world, right? Where we're building companies offline, and I'm new to this digital world. And I have a lot of friends, great, I mean, charismatic, awesome people. They're building their businesses. And I'm telling them, I'm saying, hey, look, you got to put yourself out there. And I'm just starting to do it. And you're a person that, without question, you just named off some of the vanity metrics, but you have like real influence out there. You're doing it digitally. And I think there's a negative connotation for people that haven't done it, especially maybe if they're coming from an analog business. But the way the world is digital now, we know this. And there's real value, social value, and real business value around what your personal brand is. So when you start looking at that stuff, because again, I'm new to it, what advice can you give for someone that's afraid to do the things that you just said?
Well, I would tell them to go do my sacred 6. That's to forgive yourself, commit to do what you say you're going to do, rack up the wins, get rid of the idiots, map out and visualize what exactly you want, and then seek information on a daily basis. You do that over time, and you will develop what's called self-worth. And if you want to increase your net worth, you must increase your self-worth. If you would increase the value of yourself, your net worth comes up with it.
Yeah. And so when folks are doing that, and I think like you obviously come from a world where you got a lot of friends that, 8, 9, 10 figure entrepreneurs, people that have done real well. I got a lot of friends like that. But for folks that let's say they have the net worth, whatever that is that they want it to have, but they want to go and they want to build the next dropping bombs. They want to go and have influence. They want to show their freak flag and their colors and get people to love who they are. But they're like, where do I start, man? I mean, you've obviously crushed it, but how would you, what advice would you give to those folks?
To ask themselves the question and run with the answer, because you have the answer.
Yeah.
You're just afraid of it. Should I start a podcast? Well, I don't know. What are people going to think? Well, what would I even talk about? Well, I don't know. Ask yourself. What do you like to talk about?
Yeah.
Maybe you like to talk about guns. Well, guns right now is probably not what you'd want to talk about. Then you ask your dad, and your dad says, well, son, you're pretty successful. You might ruin your career over that, and blah, 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 blah. And next thing you know, you don't do shit.
Yeah. And
then you die with regrets. Why? Why not just say, hey, I want to start a podcast? Well, I wonder what I want to talk about. I don't know. Let me think about it. Because if we could just get more people to think, believe it or not, the world becomes better instantly. A lot of people aren't thinking.
Yeah.
They're not paying attention.
Man, you should see the list I have in front of me. And like, I barely ask any of the questions because you're just dropping so much knowledge off of my questions that I didn't even have to ask the questions.
Keep going.
Dude, man, I feel like I'm asking you a question you already answered because you've answered so many of my questions. But, you know, I guess I'd like to end on this. We got a couple minutes left and I want to get wrapped up and get you out of here on time. You know, I had a thought the other day for myself where I said, you know, I'm 44 years old. And I said, what would 54-year-old Darius, what advice would I give to 44-year-old Darius? And I made a list. And it was a lot of the stuff you're talking about, but it's stuff I'm working on right now.
Mm-hmm. Can I point something out about that?
Yeah, please.
Okay. First of all, you didn't give a 44-year-old Darius a list from a 54-year-old Darius. Okay. Cause you're not 50 fucking 4.
Fair enough.
You're 44. So your 44 ass gave your own 44 ass the same answers as what I just said you already have. You just justified it by saying it's the 54-year-old Darius. No, it isn't. It's the today Darius, bro. You just don't want to listen to the answers.
I like the answers I got.
That's because you already have them. We already have the answers. We're just not listening to them. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, no.
At 54, you'll have different answers, bro.
Yeah. You just kind of fucked my head up right now.
I do that a lot
in a really good way. Like that was a brilliant answer. And so, yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you what, cause you're 52, is that correct?
53.
I was going to ask you what you thought 63-year-old Brad would say to yourself. Maybe you have an answer for that. What advice would you give yourself?
I have no clue because I'm going to be a lot smarter in 10 years than I am today. Why? Because I am voraciously seeking information on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So every day I'm seeking information and I'm getting new information and I'm learning new things. So every day I'm going to improve. Every day I'm getting better. Every day I'm getting smarter. In 10 years, that's a long time.
Yeah.
10 years, if I'm still kicking and I'm still fortunate enough to be here, I'll be way smarter than I am right now. I know that.
It's 3,650 smiles every morning, right? You got that. Man, I just have to tell you this right now. This has been my favorite podcast I've ever done.
Hey now.
And
how many have you done?
Well, you know, I did a live before it became a podcast. I think this is 121 podcasts, but I think including the lives we're in the 190s.
Good. See, fans better listen.
Yeah, this is
who'd you have on the podcast so far?
Oh, I've had a lot of great folks.
Name some.
Like people that I love or people that are cool or people that are interested.
Any big names?
Probably the most famous person I had Amanda Knox on my show.
I blew her doors off. Who else?
Yeah. You know, I liked Gino Wickman. I thought he was good. I had Jordan Harbinger.
No way. I beat them all?
Man, you were my favorite so far.
They're going to listen to this. They're going to be upset with you.
Jordan was fun. He was entertaining, but you got a few
Are you like Ed Milet where you tell everybody they're the greatest?
You can listen to my whole, it's 170 shows and you won't hear me say
have you ever listened to Ed Milet?
I have a little bit. Yeah.
Every guest is.
I listen to you on his show.
Most amazing.
Yeah.
I know. He told me I was his most amazing guest. And then he tells the next person.
You're like,
you're my favorite interview. Then the next guy, you're my favorite interview.
Yeah. No. I've actually never said that before. This is my favorite interview.
Well, good. I appreciate that.
Yeah. This has been a real treat. So look, I'm going to get you out of here right on time, but man, you're a stud, Brad. And this has been really an amazing experience to get to come into your studio, spend time with you, and get to know you better. And I really appreciate this so much, man. Thank you so much.
Dude, my pleasure.
I know that you have a lot of stuff to promote. If there's anything that, that you'd love to promote for our audience.
I don't have anything to promote.
Oh. Well, you have an amazing podcast and dropping bombs.
But you already mentioned that.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, guys, like Brad Lea is who I want to promote. And that's Lee. Everyone always says, is that Leah? Because it's Lea. And I say, I don't know. Do you drink Tia? But it's Brad Lea. If you just, find me, then you'll find everything I'm up to, and that'll be, good enough.
So you're on all social, on the web, bradlea.com? Or the real Brad Lea.
The real.
Which is easy for our listeners because I'm the real Darius. So you go check out the real Brad Lea. You got 2 reels here today.
And I'll tell you, if anybody out there is like struggling, you're not really, making money, you're trying to figure it out, you want to get out of the rat race, hit me up. because I'm literally setting up companies that are vetted companies, or, you know, industries, really, financial services, solar, merchant services, all these different companies, where I'm showing people exactly how to make $500,000 a year just selling something. Because again, if you want out of the rat race, you got to sell something.
Yeah.
You're not going to hold a sign or do a bunch of labor and get out. And the gap is getting wider. So it's like, dude, you got to sell something. And everyone has the ability to sell something. If they just don't try to sell, just try to help. And someone says, well, I don't think I'm helping with the product I'm selling. That's the problem. Quit selling the shit you don't believe in.
Yeah.
Start finding something you do believe in so you can evangelize it. Next thing you know, you're out there making a lot of money because you're selling. And it doesn't even have to be your product. It could be someone else's.
Yeah.
That's called commission. But once you make a little bit of money, well, now the money can go get invested and start bringing in more money. And next thing you know, you have true freedom. So if anyone's out there struggling and they want to learn how to do that, hit a brother up.
You guys heard it here. Greatness Machine, Brad Lea. Love you, brother. This is awesome.
Appreciate you.
Guys, check us out in the future. Next show is going to be a good show as well, but Brad Lea set the world on fire today.
Good luck, next guest.
Yeah, good luck. All right. Peace out, everybody.
She's my lover.
You are listening to The Greatness Machine, and that's a wrap for today. Listen, if you love what you heard, subscribe to the show on whatever podcast platform that you're tuning in on so that you don't miss any of our future episodes. We have tons of great people coming on, and we're stoked to have you here to enjoy it with us. Leave us a review. Tell us what you love most about this particular episode. We love getting the reviews. We love to see what you guys love most. And if this particular episode, made you think of someone who's leveling up in their business and in their life, print screen, share it with them. Leaders are the best givers. And after all, we're all here to support and grow with each other. And in case you want to see some of the fun behind the scenes shots or some of the things that we're doing, I'm actually writing about this in my weekly newsletter. Go to www.therealdarius.com and subscribe to my newsletter. We're talking about fun things like business and life and mindfulness and cryptocurrencies and gosh, I don't even know, everything and anything, but it's tons of fun stuff I write about. I try to get it out on a weekly basis. You can subscribe at www.therealdarius.com. And with that said, look, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. I love you. Peace. We're out of here. See you guys on the next one.
She's my lover.